Hello folks, I'm going to be making some gluten-free beer today. First step I'm going to take is to steep some black Asian glutinous rice in water for 25 minutes and then roast it till it's dry. I don't think I'm going to give it much of a toast today. And then I'll be putting that in a sock into the wort to let it steep for a while. The recipe calls for about 1.5 pounds of rice. This bag says it's 5 pounds. I measured it out, that's 12 cups. So I'm going to be putting about 3¼ cups of rice in there. The grind that this blender gives is a little bit finer than I'd like. That's the first step. Here's the rice steeping in water. Well, this is some rinsed yeast. I poured a quart of water into the old yeast cake of a pale ale that was brewed, stirred it all up, poured it into this container, all sterilized and everything, and to get rid of the sediment, let it sit in the cold for a while. You can kind of see at the bottom that there's a bunch of stuff that's settled out. I'm just going to decant off the clean beige colored stuff at the top. Decant that lightly into the wort and it's done. Okay, now I've got some water, probably 3.5 gallons, heating up to 62 degrees or 144 slowly so that I can mix stuff in and steep the rice for a while, which is here. It's cooked in the oven for about 2 hours at 300 degrees, and it's pretty dry and brittle, which is good, kind of what I was looking for. It's got a little toasty, nothing crazy. It's not too crunchy, but definitely has a nice toast flavor to it. Here's the other pan of rice, just to illustrate that there was more than what was shown on the first video. Alright, I've got 2 pounds of rice syrup solids dissolved in here, about 1.5 pounds of molasses, I think. It's a cup of dark molasses, 6.5 cups of sorghum extract, which I'll have to tell you later how many pounds that actually ends up being, but I think it's like 5, or getting on towards 5 in any case. And here's my nylon bag filled with the rice that's steeping, slowly bringing this up to a boil from about 144 degrees or 62F, which is where I started at, and it's coming along. Well, I'm at my boil. The rice steeped and all the extract is dissolved in. It's got a boil there going, so I'm going to drop the hops in. That is 1 ounce of Cascade and about 1/2 ounce of East Kent Goldings. And so I'm just going to drop that in. Stir this up, and that's going to boil for about 60 minutes, and then I'm going to put in about 1.5 ounces of hops. I think it's 1 ounce of Fuggle and 1/2 ounce of East Kent Goldings going in at the end. Alright, well, I'm at 60 minutes of the boil. went in at 7:30. I'm done. Last of my additions here was a half an ounce of East Kent Goldings, a whole ounce of Buggles, half a pound of Belgian dark candy sugar. This is all going to go into the boil at this moment. Let this stuff dissolve. At this point, I'm going to drop my wort chiller in there so that can sterilize a little bit before I start running it. So I am now straining the boiled wort into the fermenter, hoping that maybe this will lower the sediment and trube and stuff that I've got to take care of later. Maybe I won't even do a secondary if it's relatively clear after a week or so in the primary. I cooled it down to just under 90 with the wort chiller. Probably only have about 4 gallons or so after this is finished straining. So I'll add a gallon of spring water to bring it up to 5 gallons, and I'll probably be at the right temperature for pitching, and then just pitch my yeast slurry. That's all of the stuff that I kept out of the primary by straining it. Looks like a bunch of hops, but I don't know what else. That can't just be spent hops stuff. I'm sure some people would hate the fact that that hops wasn't going in to soak in the beer, but I'm kind of glad that it's not just going to sit in the beer while it ferments. So this is my aeration method. Okay, well here's my aerated wort. It's 1065 at 74 degrees, so I need to correct that at what it would be at 60 degrees, which would be the accurate specific gravity. And to that, I'm going to pitch this yeast slurry that I made, decanting the good yeast slurry off the sediment that's collected at the bottom. And then I'm going to try to keep it at 68 degrees. Well, it's been 4 weeks or some ungodly amount of time since I brewed the beer. I'm getting ready to bottle it now. I've just sterilized about 40-something pints Grolsch bottles, and just kind of sterilizing my bottling bucket. I've got some iodophor in there. I'm going to rack it from here into there, and then bottle from there into the Grolsch bottles. So here's what the beer looks like. Pretty dark, pretty cloudy. Probably condition in the bottle some, but I'm not sure I care really how cloudy it is. Just as long as it fermented, and I'll figure out how far it fermented after I take a hydrometer reading in just a moment. So looks like after the fermentation I get something like 4.8 gallons instead of the full 5. Hey, that's pretty good. Alright, so we are at about 1.012, let's say, final gravity.